It's not going to be uniform throughout the country because we have different dynamics in different regions of the country. I would imagine as we get into February, into the middle of February, first few weeks of February, it is very likely that most of the states in the country will have turned around with their peak and are starting to come down with regard to cases and then obviously hospitalizations.
An optimistic note there about the Omicron surge as cases begin to fall nationally, offering a glimmer of hope that the highly infectious variant is beginning to recede. But with the country still averaging more than 700,000 new cases per day, what do the next few weeks hold? Joining us now live to discuss is the president's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. It's good to see you again, Dr. Fauci. Really encouraging news in some places, New York, Chicago, here in D.C., may have reached their peak or are just about to reach their peak. But you said there that by mid-February, most states may reach a peak. Are you still confident about that?
You know, I think as confident as you can be. You never want to be overconfident when you're dealing with this virus, Martha, because it has certainly surprised us in the past. But if you look at the patterns that we've seen in South Africa, in the UK, and in Israel, and that, as you mentioned just a moment ago, in the Northeast and New England and upper Midwest states, they've peaked and starting to come down rather sharply. There are still some states in the southern states and western states that continue to go up. But if the pattern follows the trend that we're seeing in other places, such as the Northeast, I believe that you will start to see a turnaround throughout the entire country. Since it's a large country and a great deal of variation in the degree of vaccinations that we have in one region compared to another, ultimately they're all going to go in the same direction. There may be a bit more pain and suffering with hospitalizations in those areas of the country that have not been fully vaccinated or have not gotten boosters. But we do know, and that these are the recent data that have come out from the CDC, that even with Omicron, boosting makes a major, major difference in protecting you from hospitalization and severe outcomes. So things are looking good. We don't want to get overconfident, but they all look like they're going in the right direction right now.
But then what should life look like? How do we stop going from surge to surge, from peak to peak, from variant to variant? What's the long-term strategy here?
Well, the long-term strategy, we hope, Martha, is that we will get to the point, particularly now with the turnaround of Omicron, which fundamentally looks like it is on a case-by-case basis less virulent in the sense of causing severe disease. It's by no means exempt from making people sick and putting them into the hospital, particularly those who are not vaccinated. However, what we would hope that as we get into the next weeks to month or so, we'll see throughout the entire country the level of infection get to below what I call that area of control. And there's a big bracket of control. Control means you're not eliminating it, you're not eradicating it, but it gets down to such a low level that it's essentially integrated into the general respiratory infections that we have learned to live with. I mean, we would like them not to be present, but they're there, but they don't disrupt society. They don't create a fear of severe outcomes that are broad. You will always get some severe outcomes with respiratory infections, even in a good pre-COVID era. You've always had that. We'd like it to get down to that level where it doesn't disrupt us in the sense of getting back to a degree of normality. That's the best case scenario. We've got to be prepared for the worst case scenario. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we have to be prepared, which is, I think, what you were alluding to a moment ago, that we get yet again another variant that has characteristics that would be problematic, like a high degree of transmissibility or a high degree of virulence. But again, the more people that we get vaccinated, the more people we get boosted, the supplies of therapies, which are going to be really important in preventing people from progressing to advanced disease, we're stocking up on that, getting many, many more tests in the form of what we've been talking about over the last week, 500 million tests coming out now and another 500 million very soon thereafter. If we have those things in place, vaccine, testing, masks, therapy, we could keep it at that low level. That would be the best case scenario.
Let's talk about the vaccines and the boosters. You have talked about how effective, especially the boosters are. Risk of severe illness reduced by as much as 94% with Delta, 84% with Omicron. What about the next booster shot? For a substantial part of the population, they're now moving into the 5th month of their booster. So does it lose its effectiveness, and how soon should they get another one, if that's your advice?
Well, the answer, Margaret, honestly, is that we don't know, because we don't know the durability of protection from the 3rd shot boost of an mRNA and the 2nd shot boost of a J&J. Certainly, you are going to see the antibody levels go down. That's natural, but there's an element of the immune response, B-cell memory and T-cell responses, where even though you do see a diminution of antibody levels, it is quite conceivable, and I hope it's true, that the 3rd shot boost will give a much greater durability of protection. We're following that very carefully. And when I say protection, Martha, I mean protection against severe disease. You are going to see breakthrough infections, as we've seen now, even in boosted people. But for the very most part, they're mild or even asymptomatic. That's where we would like to be, is to have that where you don't have to get more and more always every 6 months with a booster. We may need to boost again. That's entirely conceivable. But before we make that decision about yet again another boost, we want to determine clearly what the durability of protection is of that regular boost, that 3rd shot that we're talking about.
And Dr. Fauci, just quickly, I want to talk about children. Nearly 1 million children tested positive for COVID last week. Over 28 million eligible children are not vaccinated. There are some schools who are removing the mask mandate and leaving that up to parents. Are those kids safe? Is it safe to send your kids back to school without masks?
Well, Martha, as we know, the CDC strongly recommends that when you're in a situation in the school, we want to get the children back to school. And the way you do that, you do it by multiple things that you do. You surround the children with people who are vaccinated. For the children who are eligible to be vaccinated, get them vaccinated, and provide in the school masks where you can have children protected, as well as ventilation to make sure that you can get a respiratory infection at its lowest level of infectivity. All of those things go together, and masking is a part of that.
Okay, so good to see you this morning, Dr. Fauci. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.